Today's Talk About It Tuesday question is, how do I prepare for unexpected events that could have a major financial impact? Okay, so I like this question, but it goes all the way back to when you were a little kid and your parents said you have to save for a rainy day. And of course, my parents told me the same thing. And I remember asking my mother when I was younger, well, what is a rainy day? And she said, you'll know it when you see it. And that is so hard for humans to prepare for, something that's unknown, something that you can't see, something that's not immediate, that's not right in front of you, especially if you've been preparing for this thing for a long time and nothing happened. So most people really will start saving and then dip into the savings and start the savings and dip into the savings. And the whole point of saving for a rainy day is you don't know when it's going to rain. So what is a rainy day? Nicholas Nassim Taleb has a great book that is kind of old now. It's called The Black Swan. And he talks about these black swan events, meaning these things that are totally unpredictable but can happen, right? I call them impactful unpredictables. And we've seen it, right? I never thought in my lifetime I would live through the Great Recession. It was devastating. Never saw it coming. I don't think many people saw it coming. Really, a few people claim they saw it coming, but nobody. Everybody was hit hard for years by the Great Recession. The COVID crisis, who in the world would have thought that would have happened? But there are other things that are more likely. So it's really about the probability of outcome when we kind of decide what to prepare for. But you got to consider accidents, illness, disability. That's real. And even if it's not you, might have to be the caregiver for someone who requires all of your time, which doesn't allow you to earn the income that you did, or it cost you a great amount of your income. Job loss. I never in my wildest dreams imagined I would lose a job, right? I'm a hard worker. And I remember going into work one day when I was younger and everybody was standing around and I was like, what's going on? He said, they're calling people in the office. And I waited around. Eventually they called me in and the manager told me, he said, well, we're cutting costs and we're letting go of everyone who was working here for the since last year. And we're bringing in a whole new crew at a lower rate. And he slid me a check. And I kid you not, I slid it right back. And I said, nope. And he slid it to me. He said, yeah, we're letting you go. And I slid it back. But obviously, I lost that sliding game, right? But I never thought that I would lose a job because I was a good worker. But it can happen, right? So loss of a job, loss of your ability to work, business failures, like I said, health issues of others, economic downturns, pandemics, natural disasters where you lose everything, fires, floods, weather events, you name it. All these things can have such a major impact on you. And is the probability high? Not really, but if it happens, it's devastating. So how do you prepare for it? So obviously you have to have an emergency fund. So that's the saving for a rainy day, but that's not going to cover a whole lot, right? So for the job loss, maybe that's pretty good. For, some short-term hiccup in your finances, that's good. But you also need to have insurance for the things that are important. And really, you really need to identify everywhere that you're fragile. Everything that is important to you that potentially can be lost, and you got to figure out how to make sure that thing doesn't get lost. So for certain things, like I said, insurance, health insurance, disability insurance, perhaps. If you're a renter, renter's insurance, definitely homeowners insurance, liability insurance for your business, life insurance, right? Especially if you're the primary breadwinner. All right, so you got to look at the range of different insurances and make sure you're covered appropriately. And want to cover the things that you might lose. Some things, theft, right? So there are different things that you want to make sure you preserve. Economic downturns. You want to make sure that your assets, not your emergency fund, but your assets, your wealth that you're growing is safe. You know, I have people come to me all the time. I want to do real estate, or I want to do stocks. What do you mean you want to do real estate or you want to do stocks? It's not about what you want to do. It's about creating a diversified portfolio of assets that meets your financial needs. And if you put them all in one basket, and again, we talk about the Great Recession, I know people who had so many properties. It was outrageous how much money they were making. And then when the housing bubble burst, they lost it all because they were not well diversified and never recovered. They never recovered. So you have to have a well diversified portfolio that can withstand economic downturns. And of course, the Great Recession hit a lot of different areas, but some areas still were making some money. You could have made money in interest income, for as example. So you got to preserve your wealth by being well diversified. You got to protect things from loss by having the proper insurance. You need to protect your health, because if that is gone, if your health is gone, none of this matters. So of course, you've heard it a million times. What did your doctor tell you? Eat right and exercise, but also make sure you have health insurance so you can get the proper checkups and the proper, lab testing to make sure you're healthy. And if you're off, to catch it early. What else? So we got insurance, we got, like I said, diversified portfolio, we got making sure we're healthy, so self-care becomes important. Those are the things that you do to prepare because you don't know what's going to happen, right? So great question, but just run it down again. First of all, take care of your own health and make sure you have some type of health coverage so that you can get appropriate checkups and lab work. Make sure you have an emergency fund. Make sure you have a well-diversified portfolio for your assets, for your wealth, and a way to properly pass those things on. Again, make sure you have the proper insurance. Just make sure you're just well covered, because things will happen. They will happen. You don't know when, you don't know how impactful these things are going to be, but you want to make sure you can withstand whatever comes at you. So I'd love to hear your strategies for how you make yourself resilient. Please like, share, subscribe, keep the questions coming, and I'll see you next Tuesday.